So after that, I worked for I believe it was after that, I worked for, I was going to church, and this woman came up to me and said that she was working for a rabbi and they needed an assistant, and could she train me for the job, that for her job, because she was leaving. So it was like a personal assistant position. It was for Rabbi Rose and Rose and Lorraine Rose. So I worked for them, and I guess I put up with a lot, but I didn't, my personality type was not offended by Lorraine's personality type. She could be very brisk or sound sort of selfish, but I didn't ever take it that way. I thought she was funny. Actually, like, her personality didn't bother me at all. She did some kind of interesting things, but I just thought it was sort of like slightly dramatic and kind of amusing. It didn't bother me working for her. I didn't like it when they left their toilets unflushed, and I had to go in and do that for them, but that wasn't, really all the time. And I guess the job itself was fine. I took that job thinking I had an interest. I was still very strict Christian. Had already decided that I wasn't going to, I was looking into these books about birth control and Protestants who don't believe in birth control, because I was preparing myself for marriage. That's why I was saving my virginity, and not getting involved with somebody who wasn't someone I might marry, because I was looking at what kind of person am I preparing for, and what are my values, what do I believe in, and so then what will I be looking for. So when I decided that I believed that I should let God give me as many children as I wanted, I realized in my own mind logically, this is really narrowing the field of prospective husbands. And it was already pretty narrow. To find somebody who was a Christian man, and interesting, a little adventurous, and funny, and educated, it was going to be kind of hard. And then to throw in, oh yeah, and I don't believe in using any birth control. I just think we should have as many children as God gives us. So I had already made up my mind about that, and that's what I was looking for. And then I was working for this Jewish family, so this was kind of my mentality. And I thought, this is like going backwards. First I'm a nanny, and now I'm like a house servant. Being a nanny was great for as long as I was, and a babysitter in general. I enjoyed working with kids. But I'd always said, I am a nanny. I don't do any cleaning outside of the pickup after children. And so I took this job thinking, well, maybe God wants me to be a servant like Jesus was a servant, and this is just a way to be like Jesus. So I took the job the entire time feeling that this was a way to be a humble, quiet servant and to serve people as Jesus did, by knowing that you could do more and you had more potential within you, but being willing to sacrifice that to do something for someone else. And that is what I always told myself whenever I had a hard day maybe there. I tried always to remind myself, what would Jesus do? And sometimes they accused me, I think the kids accused me, they asked a friend later if I was always so sweet, as if maybe it was a false thing. Of course not. I was also sharp and funny and whatever. But as to sweet, was I sweet as in a sweet person, nice person? was I that giving? Definitely I was at that time for them. And the reason that I was the way I was, if they thought it was remarkable in any way, is because I always told myself that this is how to treat them the way that Jesus would treat them. And so when she's telling me to fish the plum sauce bottle out from the very bottom of the dumpster that's full of dirty trash, and she's asking me to dig around in the entire garbage thing full of garbage for that bottle for her, I told myself, instead of being upset, told myself, what would Jesus do? So that was my mentality, working for them. And a few things happened. I felt that basically I was self-employed, and I felt that they didn't pay the taxes as they should, and I tried to go back for that, and I was kind of blacklisted after I tried to do that. And I could go more into that later, but I think I'm going to skip over that for now. And from there, after quitting that job, a few months later is when I was raped, and I already discussed that and talked about it. So, then I was in college, and after that rape, I started having a couple of incidents with my car. My car suddenly was malfunctioning, and sometimes I want to say that it was just around the time that I met these monks and offended them. But I think a few things happened pretty much close to the time after I was raped as well. Because I remember all of a sudden, my car wasn't starting in the college parking lot. There were a couple of weird things going on. It wasn't like I just had normal car problems. There were a few things that were just a little different or out of the ordinary. And then, after I met the monks, I don't know if it gave someone an excuse to do more or what, but my car was vandalized almost every week. And literally I had a AAA membership where they can tow your car so many times a year for free once you buy the membership first. And I received it as a birthday gift, and within 2 months it was gone. It had been exhausted because my tires were being slashed, and having blowouts on the road is pretty dangerous too. Most of the time it's not a big deal. You can pull over to the side. It's not dangerous, but it can be dangerous. And it had happened to me constantly. And the only person I was really talking to about my whereabouts and where I was going at the time was a Father Joachim McCann from Mount Angel Abbey. And I'm not saying that he's responsible or someone around him was, but possibly someone listening in, I don't know, or monitoring my emails, I'm not sure, was involved. And I know that there were some people who were defending their monks who they thought that I was offending, I think. So I tried to report some of the vandalism because it happened so much, and I had so many mechanical failures that, it was a big problem, but the police just kind of ignore me. And then at the same time, I had a friend who started getting kind of assaulted at her place, and which was unusual that it was happening to her, and she moved out of the state because of it. So, and I had said she was one of my most loyal friends, and then all of a sudden she was being targeted. And I thought that was really unusual. Why would she suddenly be targeted with the same thing that was happening to me? Like, they're going after my loyal friend? And maybe it was different, but I don't really think it was, given the circumstances. So, I'm really trying today to keep my eyes focused on the camera instead of going around, but I think even when I talk to people, my gaze shifts from it because it's just how I think. I don't know, accessing those different parts of the brain, I suppose, but, and it is really strange to look at this just plain lens and try to treat it as though it's an eye, or eyes, that I'm, making contact with. It's very weird. So, slight tangent there. But if I look a little strange because I'm trying harder to focus on the camera and not being successful, that's why. So then, after she was being assaulted and vandalized and then moved, I was, I had a lot of things going on around me. And when I started my lawsuits, I explained why I did that in previous video clips. Some of that vandalism stopped, and then I explained that my lawsuits were successful to a point. They held up a very long time until I was then attacked, or, assaulted with the migraines. And I do remember that it was in 2004, or 2003, that I told Krista Schneider, whose father works for the Department of Justice, rather. I told her that the only thing that really kept me down was physical harm. Because after I had someone there was a hit and run, or someone ran into my car. And it was after she had asked where I was going, what direction, what time, that sort of thing. All of a sudden I've got somebody running into me. And my knee was injured, and it kept me down for a while from college and from my lawsuits, but I still managed to keep things together. But it had taken, it did have some effect on me because it was so painful, and I suffered for a long time before I had the operation, the surgery to repair the knee. And I told her after that, I realized the only thing that keeps me down is, I said I get depressed or I might get anxious or whatever, but I seem to have an inexhaustible amount of energy, and I guess the only thing that keeps me down is physical injury and harm. And she said, really? And I just remember that we had this conversation about that, and after that, it's like my enemies decided that's what they had to do then, that they were going to physically assault me and do whatever they could to ruin me physically, to keep me from pursuing their lawsuits. So they enlisted, I guess, the help of their friends in the military to assault me with the triggered migraines, and then a couple other things happened, which I'll get into a different time. And then I told her that I was interested because I was successful in my lawsuits. And I told her I decided that I wanted to be a civil rights lawyer. I wanted to help people with their civil rights, and I definitely wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a litigation lawyer. I wanted to be in the courtroom. I wanted to be able to argue and defend the rights of my clients, and I felt that I could. I thought that I could be persuasive and would be an honest and very diligent, make thorough investigations, and that I could convey the information to the jury effectively. And I really was excited about the idea of trying to encourage a jury to hear my client's side of the story. So I was planning on being a litigation attorney for civil rights, and then I was told that the only way you can do that is with a lot of money, because civil rights is just not, it's not the ambulance chaser job. It's not the one where it's, personal injury, so it's slam dunk, you get the award, and that's it. And so typically you need somebody backing that, and I thought, well, who would have money to back that kind of work? And then I found out that it would possibly be the FBI, because